So a lot of people have asked me now what classifies as hate speech. A lot of people have messaged me and said, "What's hate speech?" I said, "What can I say? What can't I say?" So, thankfully, Pam Bondi has released a much more thorough way to classify hate speech. So I'm gonna read this verbatim, bar for bar, exactly as it said, so it's crystal clear. Hate speech that crosses the line into threats of violence is not protected by the First Amendment. It's a crime. For far too long, we've watched the radical left normalize threats, call for assassinations, and cheer on political violence. That era is over. So, just want to point this out here. Hate speech that crosses into the threats of violence is not protected by the First Amendment. That means any hate speech, by the way. I want to point that out. That's anything. That's genuinely any. That could be anything. It's not. It's very vague. So, under 18 USC 875C is a federal crime to transmit any communication containing any threat or kidnap another person or any threat to injure the person of another. Likewise, 18 USC 876 and 18 USC 115 make it a felony to threaten public officials, members of Congress, and their families. So, what does this mean? Let's get real specific. You cannot call for someone's ending of life. You cannot swat a member of Congress. Cool. You cannot dox a conservative. Oh, hold on now. We're getting specific. A conservative family and think it will be brushed off as free speech. Why just specifically conservative? Well, because you guessed it. This is specifically against left-leaning people. Yes. I want you to look at me when I say this. Yes. They have decided what hate speech is based on political alignment. Totally. So if you're conservative, you're kind of fine, from what I'm guessing, at least from what Pam Bondi is saying right here. So yeah, you're kind of okay, because this is really specific. It's a specific example. These acts are punishable crimes, and every threat will be met with the full force of the law. So if you just start identifying as a conservative and they hate speech you should be kind of fine. Free speech protects ideas, debates, even dissent, but it does not and will never protect violence. Cool. All right. Nice. That's great, right? It is clear that violent rhetoric is designed to silence others from voicing conservative ideals. Great. That's cool. We will never be silenced, not for our families, not for our freedoms, and never for Charlie. His legacy will not be erased by fear or intimidation. Now, this is how I know they're using Charlie as a recency bias, as grief, because they're specifically pointing out Charlie when Charlie himself is like, I think I should be able to say whatever I want to. I'm pretty sure he said that, right? Charlie Kirk deeply said, I just want to be able to say what I want. I just want to be able to say exactly what. Yeah, hate speech does not exist legally in America. There's ugly speech, there's gross speech, there's evil speech, and all of it is protected by the First Amendment. Keep America free. So completely not even honoring his memory. I want to point this out. This, and for Charlie, this is not honoring his memory. They're just upset. That people are making jokes about the passing, which is messed up. It is messed up to make jokes about somebody's passing, but it is also protected by the First Amendment. So I want to point this out. A lot of people have been asking me, what exactly is hate speech? So I'm going to really, really, really break it down for you. There's a slope, right? Not the kind you see obviously on a snowy day, silly. No. There's a slope. The slope that it's slippery. It starts with a gentle, reasonable incline, a promise of safety, civility, protection from the ugly words of ugly people. And then it ends with this sheer bottomless cliff where every whisper is a crime and every thought is subject to approval. The moment you hand the government the power to define hate speech, you are handing them the ultimate weapon, the power to define reality itself. You're giving them a blank check drawn on the account of free thought, and you are trusting them to not mess it up. The same institution that brought you wars based on lies, mass surveillance, and the literal system inequality that we face right now, you're betting they'll never cash that check. This is a historical certainty. Power does not relinquish power. It consolidates it. The definition of hate is not a fixed scientific fact. It is a fluid, political, instrument. Today, it may be aimed at the venomous, at the genuinely malicious, at the frothing at the mouth bigots, who we can all agree are poisonous, right? We can agree certain people are poisonous, and that feels good. That feels righteous. Feels like progress. But tomorrow hate speech can be defined as any criticism of the government during a national emergency. It can be defined as organizing a protest that incites fear. It can be defined as questioning the official narrative of a war. Perhaps even saying you're not pro-Israel, a pandemic, an economic collapse. Oh, that could be hate speech. It's a slippery slope, isn't it? Because the very people holding the definitions are the ones who stand to benefit from its expansion. Think about the language itself. Hate speech. Who gets to define hate? Is it an objective standard? Of course not. It's subjective, emotional, and incredibly malleable concept. When one person hears as a passionate political argument, another one can feel as a personal attack. That's what's happening right now with the far right and the far left. When one culture sees as blasphemy, another sees as free inquiry. By making hate a label category, you are criminalizing emotion. You are turning hurt feelings into a matter for the state. You are building a justice system on the foundation of, I'm offended. And that is a foundation of quicksand. You failed. Who's going to decide these definitions? It's not going to be poets or philosophers. No, it's not going to be people that are therapists. It's going to be politicians, bureaucrats, lobbyists, the most powerful, self-interested, and corruptible people in society. They will be the ones deciding which ideas are too dangerous to be uttered. Do you truly trust them to have your best interest at heart? I genuinely do trust them. Like, if you are a right-wing person watching this, do you trust them to have your best interest at heart? Do you trust them to never, ever use the power to silence their critics, to crush dissent, to ensure their own perpetual rise? History suggests that that is a fool's gamble. You're putting it all on red right now. Yes, that's all you're doing. It's really sad, isn't it? And I'm not defending bigotry, by the way. I'm not saying, well, what about this? What about that? I know you're going to come down and say, this is not an ideology. This is that. This is that. A lot of people have messaged me and said crazy things. They've said, well, I don't like your ideals video because it rewards bigotry. I stated later in the video that I'm not rewarding bigotry or hateful ideals. That's in the video. It's a lot of things I say that doesn't reward that. I'm saying that because look what happened. And I said this in another video, but this is very important. Look what happened when we took out Ronald McDonald. Another person is going to come up and wear the shoes of Ronald McDonald. Charlie Kirk was Ronald McDonald. Guess what, guys? We're going to have another Charlie Kirk. It's going to happen. You have to destroy the idea itself and not the person. That's what I'm saying. I'm never going to call for the attack of a person. I'm going to call for the attack of the oligarchies, the attack of the ultra rich, the biggest 1%. That's what I'm going to call for an attack for. Because when people say, oh, I want to destroy all trans people, which trans person hurts you? Let's just squash it out with that person. What happened there? Why do you want to take out everybody? Well, I want to destroy the trans ideology. Okay, then go do that. Don't attack specific trans people. Go attack the ideology, not just every trans person on the planet. That's crazy. It's crazy to try to destroy an entire group by taking out one person. It doesn't make any sense. Senseless violence against individuals is worthless. It is. Ideologies needs to be broken down from their core and proven they are wrong by the entire base. That is how you win. That is how you get people over on your side. That's how it works. So I want to point this out. We need better speech, truer speech. The answer to a lie is not to silence the liar, but to expose it with facts. The answer to hate is not to outlaw it, but to out-argue it, to isolate it, to render it pathetic and irrelevant through the sheer force of a better, more compassionate idea. When you ban an idea, you don't eliminate it, you drive it underground. You grant it the glamour of forbidden fruit. You make it a martyr. Whoa, what happened there? Who's a martyr now? Charlie Kirk. That's what we discovered. You also forfeit your right to know who holds that idea, to engage with it. to defeat it in the open marketplace of thought. The moment you create a category of generally illegal speech, you create a class of criminals out of thinkers. You turn the intellectual into the felon. You force debate into the shadows. And a society that drives its debates into the shadows is a society that is no longer debating. It is merely waiting for the knock on the door. It is trading the messy, chaotic, and often ugly noise of freedom for the sterile, silent, and terrifying peace of the justice yard. And despite my beautiful hate of the American system itself, America's history has always been loud, screaming, kicking like a baby. That's how it's always been. We pushed the tea into the harbor. We fought. Battle of New Orleans. We had battles. We fought. That's America. We have fought. And you're taking away that fight. You know, they're going to say it's for your safety. They'll say it's all for your safety. Safety from words. Safety from ideas. Safety from being offended. But safety from offense is not safety. It is intellectual stagnation. It is the end of growth, of progress, of arts, of everything that requires friction and challenge to exist. A world without offensive speech is a world without comedy, without satire, without protest, without change. It is a world painted beige, where every word is pre-approved and every thought is a risk. The slope is slippery because the definition will inevitably creep. It always does. First, it's the Nazis. Everyone hates the Nazis, right? Then it's the radical extremists. Then it's the divisive voices. Then it's the troublemakers. Then it's the activists. Then it's the journalists. Then it's you. It always ends with you. Because the only way to be safe from hate speech is to never say anything that could possibly upset anyone, anywhere, for any reason. And that is the definition of silence. This is not a hypothetical, by the way. Look anywhere in history. In the world where governments have been given this power. Anywhere. Period. Critics of the state become hate speakers. Artists become provocateurs. Satirists become sedacious elements. The tool created to protect the vulnerable is always, without fail, turned against the vulnerable. Always. That's what always happens. That's what's happening right now. So, don't know. I read a lot. History is important to me. I will not trade my liberty. I will not trade my liberty for the illusion of your protection. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to hand the keys of my mind to the state and hope they are kind jailers. That's ridiculous. The price of true freedom is the risk of offense. It is the courage to hear things you despise and to answer them with words, not weapons. It's too late for that, is somebody going to say. It's going to be crazy. So that's hate speech, by the way, if you're curious about what's going on there. So have a fun time with figuring that out, America. Bye. I'm your Nick and night, be my Laura. Happy to try what you need. Your world, I love to live in it. I love the ride when you're free.